Just in case. Oh, did you hit it?
Did you want me to start?
Yeah, let's start it. Might as well.
Okay, you're in charge.
So how you doing? It's been a little while since we had a conversation.
I'm fantastic, or at least that's what they tell me. It's been a ride, a rough ride. So lots of stuff going on energetically, new things, and but we're all just keep pushing through it. So how are you doing?
Same exact thing, pushing right through all this stuff, and just kind of like, it's funny, every day that goes on, it's like more and more like the reality TV show. It's funny. It's like, I used to kind of bounce back and forth, like reality, then the reality TV show. But now I feel like anything I see, like on a TV or on a radio or whatever, I'm just like, how this reality show is getting more and more goofy as the days go on, to the point where it's like, now they got the, Omi-c.r.o.n variant coming out now, and how they're pushing it. And I'm just like, do people still buy this? Like, really? I mean, it's to a point now I'm like, okay, guys, you got to stop the show, because everyone's going to wake up really fast, because this is just way too out of hand. It's not even real.
I gotta, oops, let me see if I can share this. Oh, for God's sake, of course. Keep talking.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's my take on it.
Not going out of full screen on me again. It's been doing this lately for some reason. Zoom. It's weird. Let's try that. There we go. I was just going to pull this up for you when you said that. But yeah, every day is crazy. And it's like, oh, I'm going to take a day off. And then I'm like, oh my God, I missed like 20 years of information and events just happened in one day. I'm like way up. I'm out of touch. I'm way behind. Here you go. New York declares state of emergency to hike hospital capacity ahead of Moronic variant. So, and there's a video game called Omi-c.r.o.n.
Oh yeah,
where they
I
take
did see that.
souls, and then there's like a star with this name that I think was highlighted during the last eclipse, and oh, there's other stuff I forget now. But anyway, Moronic, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw like a meme or whatever that had that. I thought was hilarious. I'm like, yep, that's classic. Just like the Delta one, I thought that was great. Like the deepest state of sleep you can be in. I'm like, yeah, here comes the Moronic one.
They think we're morons, is what they think. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so we were kind of feeling in agreement about like just major attacks lately. You were saying particularly on women, which I thought was interesting. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with hormones and this whole, what do you call it, agenda, the non-human agenda, transhuman. But the bug attacks, and what I'm seeing also is the fallen angel attacks. All of a sudden there's been fallen angels out there that I've run into, but now all of a sudden they're everywhere, and the bugs are everywhere. Like, what did you say? Infestation. You said something.
I just see the word parasitic has been coming to me a lot. Yeah, parasite.
Yes. In all kinds of forms, and they're attaching to us and sucking us dry. And what I was kind of sensing was they're trying to suck all the biological out of us. Now, I don't know how that happens, but I guess if you're in an AI world, it can happen. But like, it's just changing the code, or I don't know what, but it's like when you hit the delete button, are they just deleting all the biological out of us? But these bugs are on everybody, and you have people talking about bugs.
Yep.
And the fallen angels are somehow connected to these. I don't know how yet, but it's all connected. And the fallen angels I'm seeing working through people, or they are incarnating actually into bodies. And you just think it's a person. Hey, how you doing? This looks like a everyday person. And so I don't know if they're in a synthetic body or what they're in, but they're either completely taking on a body, or they're working through people. And yeah, it's messed up, and they're hard to get rid of.
Especially now with all the jabbing going on and all the people that have already had this happen, it's there is we talk about transmission, and I think a lot of people, think of transmission as one thing. You think of it like you get sick and then you just spread it, or then you're transmitting it. But transmit, that word really has a lot to do with communication, electricity, and what's being put in these jabs. We're looking at a lot of conductivity happening. When you have, let's say, this for the United States, for instance, they say half the people have gotten this. I mean, what does that do as far as electrical transmission is concerned, especially with all the frequencies they're putting out right now, the satellites and everything? Even people that haven't gotten it can be affected by people who, possibly who have, you know what I mean? And a lot of these portals and things that are opening up, we're looking at a high transmission rate of this sort of conductivity happening that could allow for these fallen angels and these parasites to be really coming in on those frequency waves. Just a thought. I mean, that's,
you know what, that's really interesting. So what you're saying is making me think like the transmit. So a lot of people say there is no such thing as a virus and this and all of this kind of thing. I mean, it very well could all just be nano, for a general term to include everything, and which would make total sense that you would need some kind of electrical transmission to transmit nano, or from what, so maybe all this, 5G, everything, they're just, which actually that kind of ties into that Carrie Cassidy thing I wanted to show you. But basically nano, how much nano have we got in us? How much of the biological is leaving? So they can either, and especially if they get us to do this thing, then they can upload us, and this body won't matter because you'll be in another ship, another realm, and you'll wake up there. You won't even know you left. But anyway, oh God, I don't know. Let me show you that thing with the PCR if I can easily find it here. It's pretty interesting. It's talking about, oh, here, it's probably in here. It's talking about, let me go to the beginning because this is about Australia. Okay, so there's this one talking about your test result on the PCR test. Here we go. So this is on her Telegram page, Carrie Cassidy, Project Camelot. The divisions of society of the future, the PCR tests are testing the progress of their nano AI in taking over your body. So it's not even talking about testing for a virus. They need to know which of the 3 categories a human fits into. So basically, if your test is negative, you're immune and you're considered a human being. You're going to stay a human being. So basically biological, and you're naturally immune. Your other negative test here, number 3, your body is accepting the nano AI and now a synthetic spike protein factory, and can infect others with the nano AI, the transmitting. You will then be tracked as one of their own passive super soldiers for use in the future war with alien AI. So that's the other possibility of a negative test. Number 2 is if your test is positive, it means your body is rejecting the takeover and losing the fight, resulting in adverse reactions and death. So she's got a couple other explanations on here that I copied. Next, I probably shouldn't say that word, sorry. Getting the shot or hanging out with those that have gotten it. Congrats, you are now a spike protein nano AI factory linked to the Borg, unless you are immune, which was number 1. You got a negative test, you're immune to the AI and you're rejecting it and you're going to stay human. So here's another explanation. These were like several posts. Let's see here. So yeah, you test negative, congrats, you are either becoming a cyborg or immune and will remain human. All cyborgs equal Borg army for the future. So the tests, the real truth, the divisions of society is what these are about, to see the progress of the nano. You're immune, your test is negative. Your body is rejecting the takeover, but it's getting taken over. Your test positive. Your body is accepting the nano like it's already, you've already accepted, and you're turning into cyborg, you're negative. Now, I did read on this, and I think this is accurate. And I remember reading on the PCR test a long time ago about what they were about. And it was something about tracking the nano and evaluating the nano. So this makes total sense to me. And I think this is correct. I don't know where she got this from, but I did check myself. So I had to have surgery on my knee. It's just this freak thing. I've never had a surgery before. And my knee just tears and it flaps, the meniscus flaps under. So my knee's all bent up. I can't walk or do anything. So I have to get this surgery. So I had to get a test. And then they made me wait 3 weeks. And because it was bent up so long, it was going to be this year-long recovery. So I had no choice. And there's other people that are in a position where they have no choice. But I mean, obviously, if you can avoid taking the test, avoid it. However, I did read on myself. I was like, oh my God. And it said immune. But I remember when I went to get the test, I was in the car. It was a freaking drive-through, and she's shoving the thing up there. And I said, I do not comply. This is being forced under duress. You have no compliance. You will, whatever you're putting in me immediately must leave my body. I was doing all of that. And I was drinking the Cali tea and flushing and everything. And I feel like I flushed it, but I remember getting these little things coming out of my cheek. They did it on my right side here. And right here, several months later, I had this, I was like, something is right there. And I used like a magnifying mirror, and it was like a little black dot, and it was like black, like abnormal color. It wasn't like I don't know, I don't really get blackheads right here, but it wasn't like a blackhead. It was like dark and abnormal looking. So I'm pushing this thing out through my skin. So it took a 10 times magnifying mirror. Otherwise I probably wouldn't even be able to see it, but it looked like a little string. And then another one came out about 2 months later, and I was like, are we flushing some of this stuff out or what? But, and it was on the right side, right where they put the thing. I don't even know if she went that far. She did push it up there, and it kind of was like, but it wasn't like god awful, eyes watering like some people are saying. So I'm wondering how well of a job she did anyway, but
I don't know. That's crazy.
Start this on a happy note, right? This, oh my God, I read that post and I was like, oh, but I do feel like there's antidotes that are going to be out there or something. So not all hope is lost here, but my God, if you can avoid it, avoid it. I know there's one person on my channel that's in my Telegram, and he's talking about Germany is forcing you now. You can't go anywhere, and you have to either get tested to leave your house or get the shot. And they have a spit test, but to get to the spit test, to take transportation to get there, you have to have a shot to get on the a test to get on the transportation to go get the spit test shot, and you have to pay for it. So I don't know what to do for them. I mean, honestly, I wish I could go back in time and say, get your butt on a plane and move here and move in, but I can't do that at this point because I'm sure they can't travel. I mean, there's no way they could travel. And you know, he's talking about getting a fake thing, but I'm sure they're on to that. So that's risky. So this is so surreal. I mean, even with that New York thing, it's like, who is this lady? All these people are synthetics. And just like when you were talking about watching TV shows or movies or something, or whatever you were saying, you were, I think you said movies. It's like, I can't even enjoy watching anything anymore because I know it's a scripted thing telling us something. And these actors in it, are they real? Are they synthetic? Are they drinking, you know, the adreno, you know what? I mean, like what? I don't even enjoy entertainment anymore. And people keep sending me stuff to watch. You got to watch this, you got to watch that. It's exactly what they're doing. And it's like, I just don't want to watch it. But if I do, I say, nope, you don't have my permission to do that. Nope, cancel. No way.
Yeah, it's getting more and more, the reality TV shows becoming more and more obvious. You know, it's just kind of like, I'm like, come on, folks, this is getting so fake now, where it's like, you have to see the fakeness in it, you know. And it's crazy because, you know, all of this is built off of a theory. We have germ theory, we have, terrain theory, and the predominant theory that Western medicine has, and, Western medicine is germ theory. And I was telling you about this little docu-series that I've got coming out. I got 1 and 2 on my channel now. Very informative information. And I got quite a bit of information out of the book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. And it's probably one of the greatest books of this century. It's just like packed full of hundreds and hundreds of studies that he puts very clear for reading. And it's very informational. It has a lot to do with mostly technology, radiation poisoning, goes through all the pandemics we've ever had. But in there, we're talking about, we're basing everything off of a theory, which is there's a virus, and this virus is, created in a monkey or a bat or some kind of thing from some other, usually China, right? And then it somehow comes over, but the virus, they say, is not a living entity. It's not, not dead or alive. It doesn't have a metabolism. It doesn't have a brain, but somehow this thing knows how to get into a host and then begin to attach itself to a cell and then begin to replicate itself and then create all this problem, which is, if you really look into terrain theory and germ theory, it's a complete bust, because this is not even a real reality. Yet people are walking around with masks on their face and, getting jabbed against something that has never been proven to exist. There has not ever one time ever been a proven isolated virus. It's never been proven. There's not one study. As a matter of fact, they've done hundreds of studies with sick people that have what you would call an influenza or something like that, and then try to infect these people through all different kinds of means, with blood, through the mucus, eyes, mouth, all kinds of stuff. And not one healthy person would ever get sick from this person with supposed influenza, right? There's so many studies out there that basically are disproving everything that they're trying to ram down everyone's throat, which is all false and fake. It's like, it's not even real. Now, there's a difference there. We're talking viruses, what they're calling a virus here. We can't really say germ theory works with a virus, because really your body is what manufactures viruses. It does that so you can become healthy again. So being sick is actually a good thing. It's your body trying to return to homeostasis. It's using viral proteins, existing within your cells it's the last resort, last ditch effort for your body to clean house and, find homeostasis again. And here we are looking at all this stuff, the Omi-c.r.o.n variant, and we had the Delta variant. They're going to be pushing variants forever based on, again, a theory and something that's really not even real. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And if all that's true, I mean, it would make total freaking sense, because if they invented cancer and they invented the flu, and they invented all these problems, polio, whatever, and so then humanity starts to have all these problems with these so-called diseases. If they were all just really AI, nano stuff being put in us, that would make total sense. And that stuff has consciousness. And the scientists that are being censored and silenced and killed off lately are finding these little octopus or spider-like AIs and all this stuff in the, I gotta be careful not to say it, I almost said it, the shot. And it's like, yeah, it would just make so much sense. And it's like, okay, so why do you get infected with flu or react? Could be the body doing something to try to slough off some AI, some nano. Maybe they just turn it on or something, like, oh, it's on their script. Okay, now here's their age 38. This is when they get flu in March and it turn on the dial, turn on the nano in there and cause flu. I don't know. But I just think we're in a cesspool of nano. They're trying very hard, and they've been trying for a long time, I think, to turn the biological world into an AI world, which is the next virtual they're trying to pull us into. So it's the screens inside of screens. So pulling us into a completely non-biological world, and slowly trying to take us over. I think it's interesting that Carrie said some people would be immune with that negative test and remain human. So doesn't sound like they're succeeding. We keep bouncing back or adapting or something. But this thing, I think just spiritually, like on some deep level or on some intuitive level, I just knew that the tests were bad, but I knew this was going to be something that was absolutely terrible. This might be the point of no return type thing. And I did go in and do that rescue, I guess you could call it a rescue, on a woman that had one shot. She got forced into it. And I could only get her, I saw her on a ship, I could only get her halfway, 1 foot in this world, but she still had 1 foot in that next virtual. They're trying to shove us. It's a totally different realm, which I think is the whole thing they're talking about, 5D and ascension and all that. It's not what we think it is. But yeah, it just feels like logically it all comes down to nano. I'm just keep using that term because it's easy, or AI, trying to force it into a biological body and doing whatever they want, trying all kinds of stuff. And so they got this all mapped out. Okay, so we do cancer, then we do this. We slowly over time break down their immune. I mean, we must be really strong. Break everything down. We keep wiping us out with wars to try to control the population so they don't have too many people that they're trying to like, and then just keep introducing stuff. And then it's COVID, and now it's the Moronic, and Delta, Moronic, whatever. And they, yeah, like you said, just keep lining them up and making them stronger and stronger. Obviously lab made in a lab. So yeah, just crazy world we're in. And these things I'm pulling off people, these bugs and stuff, are AI. But they have their own consciousness, and it's like I don't know, what do you think about this? Because they feed off of biological is what I've been seeing. And I even saw synthetics, which is a type of person, like you have a human robot. So that's somebody that's been MK Ultra and brainwashed since they were very young and traumatized through trauma, mind control. And they go do things and have no memory of it. That's a human, like a literal human, biological, but it's a robot in a sense. And they actually called them robots. And then you have an actual robot that's like all just artificial. It's not biological. And then you have biological ones that don't have a soul. They're not like a human that they're forcing to do stuff. It's just biological, looks like a human, but it's just a robot. You have clones, which are a copy of DNA, and then these synthetics, and and it goes on and on. But the synthetics, there's a lot, we're seeing a lot of them, and they're the ones that like have this like weird, perfect like skin, even though like, I don't even know if Madonna's a synthetic right now, but she's got, I mean, I know she's getting work done, but she's got like this skin like this. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. It's but I was seeing Ryan Reynolds. I mean, not to say anything bad about anybody, because there could be a real Ryan Reynolds, but I thought he was a synthetic, and I saw him eating Adreno, you know what. So do these things feed off of biological? I mean, they're always talking about eating us and eating baby. Is that their source of food? I guess I can't understand that if it's a fake non-biological, but it eats biological, unless you just think of everything in terms of energy, in terms of AI world, I guess. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's all crazy.
That's an interesting, very interesting topic. I personally feel like AI has been around a very, very long time. Almost super computer conscious AI. And it seemed to me, or it seems to me that, and it's very theoretical here, is that, I have been having this feeling that it's working to bring itself to more of a maybe physical form. It's almost like what it's trying to do is have the ability to procreate. Like biologics have that ability, right? We, us coming from God, we could say, or source, have the ability to procreate and create more life. Artificial intelligence doesn't have the ability to do that, but it wants to have the ability to be able to do this. And it kind of looks, as the way things are going with these things they're finding, in those vials, and the way we see AI working right now, it's crazy. It's almost like, yes, they're trying, I mean, we know the transhuman agenda is coming down the pike. We got, World Economic Forum talking about 2050 and everything that they really want to have in place by that time. And we're looking at a world of almost like robots, half biological, half AI, or maybe 90% AI, 10% biologic, just enough to be able to procreate, but under complete order and control. And that's what it seems like to me. How do you have complete order and control? Is you have to have a being that is not sentient. It has to be almost robotic, where it can just take commands, the zeros and the ones. Something is punching it in, and putting it out there. It's robbing the sentient nature of the real human beings on this planet and turning it into, that's their version of order, becoming God, the God thing, God complex. So it's wanting to dethrone the source, our natural source, and step in and take place of that. And it does go to that ancient battle, right? Like the battle between good and evil, and all this, these things out there. A lot of stories have been written on this sort of concept. It almost seems to me, and I don't really personally put all my eggs in one basket, with all those concepts and ideas and stuff. I think they're very fascinating because they're allegories that are teaching us about basic concepts, like that one being polarity, right? Very basic concept of polarity. But we're seeing it play out. I mean, we're seeing it happen. They're switching people from one thing to the other. It's obvious. Why do you want to get this in people and so many people? Why do you want to do that? Why is it there's so much graphene, the graphene in it? Why aborted, fetus cells and, bovine cells and all this? Why? Well, a very specific reason why, and it may possibly, like I said, theoretically, slowly changing people from their biologic to the more artificial intelligence, able to receive the transmissions a lot easier, right? And anyway, yeah, and it's very fascinating to see this play out.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, if you think about all the hybrids they've been trying to create, I know I was getting abducted and eggs taken from me and put in me for a few months, and I'm like pregnant, and here I am, a virgin. I'm like, how am I pregnant? And then I'm not pregnant 3 months later. I mean, just crazy stuff happening. And so they can create hybrids and test and this and that. But I think, like you said, they've had these computers, they have to have been around forever, even just to create this whole mind program we got sucked into, this inverted replica mind program. And when they constantly do resets, I mean, if you're a limitless being, the word reset does not apply at all. Resets, cycles, ages, time, all these things are artificial AI. So the computers had to be there. I mean, you could say what came first, the chicken or the egg, or the computer or the real being, a real being. And it's like, well, probably the real beings created the AI, and then the AI sucked us in. So in this reality, I think the computers had to be here first. But yeah, that's super interesting with the procreation, because I think they do want the best of both worlds. I think they ran out of their timeline. I think they were supposed to reset us a lot sooner. So now it's like it kept getting pushed out. So so this is the new plan. Since they can't reset, they're going to just directly upload us into that virtual, instead of resetting us all, putting us back to so-called Stone Age, which I don't know if that's where we'd go, but we'd all wake up and ascend into a new reality. And now they're just having to shove us up there. Okay, get this so we can shove you into it, because we missed our reset date. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. And that, so they've got these plans that and they could have lost that reset date like a very long time ago, because I think it was supposed to happen 2018, 2019 on our calendar, and it could have gotten they could have lost control of it a very, very long time ago. And so since then they've had to make this new plan. I mean, it could have been hundreds of years ago that they lost control of the age or the timeline, but that's what I think happened. I could be wrong. And honestly, I think it's because a lot of waves of beings have been willingly coming in here to try to take it down. Obviously you and I, or otherwise we wouldn't even have be able to understand all this stuff or even dig this far. But and I think we've probably been through, and I'm sure you agree, probably been through several of their resets where we failed. And I think this one, it's like, oh, no way. And I think we're getting more help now, even though it doesn't feel like it at times. But I don't think they're going to succeed with this one. I think we're going to go into some kind of golden age cycle, which is part of their whole thing of cycles, but it's not going to be their golden age like it always was. It's going to be something different. That's what I think. But then we're going to eventually take down the mind program altogether. It's like playing a video game and, oh, this video game sucks. So you get a different one. Oh, well, this one's a lot more fun. I like this one. That's like these ages. So we can play the fun one, but then you know what? It's all just a video game. And eventually I got to get out of here. So we got to just get rid of this whole thing because it's sucking up my whole life and my real life in limitlessness in a real world or wherever I want to be or go. So anyway, yeah, it's like such broad concepts. And then you try to like figure it out. Well, you're in this little body and you got ones and zeros and you got to think linear, you know, then you try to explain this stuff. It's like moronic. It's really moronic is them. I mean, this world is a joke. I mean, this is the best you got. This is okay. I'm getting up and okay, God, I try to get something out of the refrigerator and then I drop it. And, oh my God, I got to bend and pick it up. And then, oh, the internet doesn't work. It's like, really, this is the best you got on a world. You guys did a really SHITTY job on this copy, replica, inversion deal. I mean,
Yeah.
why the holy HELL, I don't know why I'm cussing all of a sudden, but I want to be uploaded into your next one. Go get this and be uploaded. So I guess I should just suggest everybody just say, even if you're getting forced into it with a gun to your head, I mean, you can either die or get it. And if you get it, just say with your mind, I do not comply to this. I do not accept anything you're putting into me. It's not mine. It's not, this is under duress. And therefore all these contracts are broken. There's no agreement here. And just visualize it flushing out. I mean, that's about what you can do at this point, or energetically go try to get your astral body back and your energy and your light body. But other than that, I don't know. So
that's good advice. That's very good advice for, I mean,
more cheerful here.
Well, that's excellent advice because I mean, who knows? I mean, we're the whole thing is going with that. And you know, you mentioned Germany. I mean, that's absolutely crazy what's going on in Australia, Austria. I mean, it's just like,
yeah,
you know, at some point in time, you know, it may come down to where they're, you know, knocking down doors. I don't really know. But yeah, even if you're mentally fully saying to yourself, as somebody's, you know, basically, you know, raping you with that is what it is. I do not comply. And that energetically does a massive amount when you really fully bring that in. Yeah, there's a whole lot. There's very, very broad topic with all this. And I think it's hard to nail it down. I think it's really hard to nail it down. One of the things that was coming to me, I guess, I don't know, I feel like sometimes, you know, my spirit is speaking to me where it will like kind of slowly like, or, you know, guide me in these directions, especially when I go outside too much. So sometimes I go out there like venturing for information, like I'm venturing like in the woods, like in an old tribe, you know, like it's like, okay, I got to get my, you know, my weapons ready here. I got to go out, but sometimes I forget the weapons, right? So I'm going out and then all of a sudden I can just feel this inundation of just like all this. And I let myself go with it. And I finally have to recognize, oh my gosh, Logan, you've been going out way too much, trying to find information, and you got sucked in right where they wanted to be. It doesn't matter how open it is or how crazy it is. It's like, it's too much. So it's like, there's certain bits of information, doesn't matter who's giving it. It could be like some of the best truth people or whatever. It's still not really, how can I put this? There's a point where it affects you in a negative way, where it's just not right, really. So it's like, you got to go in. It's like, you always got to go in. You got to pull yourself back from that. And if you do go venture out into the woods, don't forget your weapons, because, and that's going for information. You got to be shielded. You have to have your stuff when you're getting information, because everything has to be used with discernment. Every single thing. Anybody watching this, discernment. Anybody watching anything, use discernment, because, you know, it's
question everything.
question everything. I think when people, I mean, once I got to that point where I realized if I question everything, that's opening my mind up to an infinite amount of potentials. And you know what? My higher being is going to pick the stuff that it needs to for me to be able to, compute it and then, say it or, do it as an action. But I think there's just so many people out there right now inside of these truth communities that there's a lot of people that are just hanging on this stuff, hanging on it and going from, like, we have a friend that's like that. She hangs on a lot of this stuff and she's hanging on so much to where when you have a conversation, I can see she's been boxed in. It's like you've allowed yourself to be boxed in through all this information and then be scared by it. And that's the other thing. If we start to mentally become afraid and we feel the fear, like fear the future, fear what's happening with all this, we've suddenly got right into the trap that I'll say they want us to be in, the fear trap. That's the number one trap, and it's easy to get there. And if you look at any kind of the news media nowadays, like anything, it's always been this way. The main media, it's all fear. You don't hear anything positive. What about the fireman that saved the cat? What about whatever? It's like everything's so negative. It's like that for a very specific reason. They want to keep you in fear mode. It's subliminal and subconscious, and it goes right in there. Subconscious mind does not know the difference between what's real and what isn't. It just takes an information and it kind of guides you. So you got to feed the subconscious mind good information and step out of fear. That's, I'd say, the number one first thing to do.
Man, that's no truer words. You always say stuff and then it's like makes these light bulbs go off in my head. So when you were talking about transmissions and transmitting and all that, it made me realize, the brain, your brain is electrical. It runs on electrical impulses. Your thoughts are electrical. So if you're saying, no, I don't comply, that's like stopping a transmission. It's stopping some nano from transmitting to you. You're just saying, nope, you have to leave. Get out of my energy field. But yeah, what drives me crazy sometimes, so the questioning everything, like, okay, I get stuff through my intuition, but sometimes I might be reading a psychic program that they put up to trap people where I think, oh, I'm reading on this. Usually it'll feel off, like there's something like, this doesn't feel right. Like you're saying there's a fear or something doesn't feel good. So then you're getting tricked or there's somebody trying to screw with you. And so I always tell people, even if I read on something, let me know if it feels right, because question that too. But what drives me crazy is kind of what you're saying, like people that watch, especially videos where they do a really nice visual job of showing things. Like they come up with a theory and then they show you a video and they show like this whole imagery. And so it becomes real as you're watching it. You're like, oh my God, that's mind blowing. Oh, that's true. Like, and I don't know if I haven't even watched this series, but like the history of the earth or the this or the that. And they don't really know. They're just theorizing or scientifically theorizing. So it sounds really good, and then you watch the visual with it. So now it's become fact in your mind because seeing is believing. And so when people do that and they take all these things on, like you're talking about, and then you try to talk to them, it's like, yeah, but it doesn't fit in here. So I'm not hearing you because I've taken this on, instead of saying, okay, I took this on, let's test it a little bit, question it, let's see if it's true. What have you got to say? Oh, well, yeah, you know what? So people are really getting brainwashed, even by people that mean well and put out these videos, but I don't know. So you want me to, so like Carrie Cassidy, if you go to her Telegram, she says she puts everything she's come across up there. So people send her stuff and she says some of it I don't agree with or don't believe in, but I still put it up there for you to like go check it out, see what you think. Or she'll sometimes mention, okay, here's this person talking about this, but I don't necessarily believe this part of it or whatever. But man, if you scroll through her thing afterwards, you're like, oh my God, world's ending. But because she's just covering everything, she's just going where no man wants to go. But you have to be, like you said, just don't take it on. Don't just say, okay, I'm listening to it. Does it feel right? Does it feel true? Is it what I'm experiencing? But I'm going to go back in this thing if you don't care, because she's got some stuff on, just like that test thing. So as I was telling you, I haven't even read all this ahead of time. it's about Australia. Let me see if I can find the beginning. I got this all just thrown in here before we got on. This is, okay, we might as well just look at this. This is you've seen this book, right?
I don't know if I've seen that book, but.
Okay, supposedly written in 1989. I've got a close-up of it. Did I put it in here? I probably, yeah, I did. Okay. So the second paragraph is the Rockefeller playbook. It says second phase. The first phase will lead to compromised and frail immune systems, but it mentions 5G in here and radiation. Third phase, resist the vaccine. So this is all, you know, like we're saying, these computers, this technology, all of it's been around a very long time. We've probably been dealing with robots and fake people. Just go to the store, go to, I don't know, Walgreens. I don't really go to Walgreens, but go to Walgreens and the person checking you out, who knows if they're a robot, and like a literal robot. We've probably been dealing with this stuff forever. We just had no concept. So I want to find, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling. Oh, this Good Lion Films put up, the CDC is now calling families to survey and gather information on how many children and what ages are under care at each household. How many here have received this call? Don't answer the phone.
Mhm,
Okay, now I'm
yeah.
going back too far. This is the Elvis stuff I had. I don't know how it got in this folder. All right, I'll just find one of these here. I hope I put it in here. Okay, it is not the people of Australia, it is the country of Australia that is a great Draco stronghold. The global elite originally set up the Parliament building in Canberra as their central seat of government to rule the planet. The headquarters of the main US intelligence agency is not in Langley, Virginia, but in Melbourne, Australia. Isn't that interesting? That's where everything's going on. Central Australia is home to the world's most important underground facilities built like underground hotels where the global elite seek refuge after carrying out their original plan of global extermination and only want to come out when the dust settles. So under Canberra, there are many levels and bases. So she's talking about tunnels that lead to Tasmania and to Antarctica, Sydney tunnels lead to New Zealand, Norfolk Island. So this is apparently a really important place to them. And according to her, their last stronghold, tunnels to Indonesia, human slaves underground, and then shipped directly to Alpha Draconis. Australia is not what most believe. Under Pine Gap, which is located in Australia, is the most important UFO surveillance facility in the world used by the global elite. Most of the children conceived in underground facilities are conceived in the underground facilities under the western suburbs of Sydney. So that's interesting because you were talking about reproducing. I'm just wondering if this has something to do with it. Anyway, they're putting boxes on cruise lines and go to New York, LA, and all this satanic rituals. Australia has a massive underground tunnel system and is littered with Draco bases, all connected by large tunnel systems built using draconian ET technology over 200 years ago. So that kind of explains why it is such a mess over there and why it's especially Melbourne and stuff. But
yeah, that's very interesting to hear. I mean, that's the first time I've heard it. I've heard that angle from it, which is very fascinating to absorb that one for a little bit. But yeah, there's you know, I think part of it, when we try to understand certain things, part of the questioning I go to, how do you keep everybody so, you know, oblivious to a lot of the stuff that's happening? But really, I don't think it's that difficult to keep people that oblivious to things. You keep them encapsulated into this little world with, you know, the radio and the television, and they're not looking anywhere else. It's almost like anything. It's like if you're not looking for something, you're not going to find it.
Don't see it. Yeah. Seeing is believing. So they tell you what you're seing. And then that's what you know that you're seeing. So if you're talking to a Draco, I don't know if I should say the R word, but you're talking to a Draco and but they tell you it's a human, you're seeing a human. I mean, with anything, if they tell you what it is and somebody tries to tell you different, no, that's not what that is. Well, that's the sky up there, and it goes, if you go past that, you go into outer space. Well, then why are we seeing like these black squares up there? Like it's a freaking screen that's having a glitch, or a green screen having a glitch. Like, why are we seeing that? But nobody, oh, I don't know what that was. It was nothing. It was maybe it was a weather balloon. It was because I was told that's the sky. There's nothing going on there. So it's all mass mind programming just from media, but also broadcasting that stuff through 5G, through the towers, through everything. I mean, we're getting so much, and even long distance broadcasting, so much stuff, so many programs and on top of programs and layers and layers and layers of these mind programs on us, that it's like trying to like, I can't get out of here. You can even like, you can get through one. Okay, I got through. Okay, there's something going on with the white hats and the black hats, but I'm still in the Christian mind program. Nothing against Christians, but I'm still in whatever the minister told me. So, you know, there's no aliens, but there's stuff going on with these white hats and black hats. It's like all these programs, just there's so many. It's unbelievable how we even function, I think. But
Yeah.
you gotta, how many do you have to burrow through when you're trying to tell somebody something and they don't want to listen? It's because you're just, and they're constantly reinforcing them. So it's like, oh, you might break this program down a little bit by telling them the truth, but then they watch the evening news, and then they watch the morning news, and then they've repaired that whole program. It's like, oh God. So no wonder we're all exhausted.
Yeah, I know. It's like one of the things that I remember, you know, earlier when I, you know, working in the health field, we're talking about, you know, anxiety and depression and all these different things that people go through, emotional type, you know, problems or diseases. And I never really looked at it like anything other than this person is having an issue dealing with, you know, whatever issue they're dealing with. And really more recently, it's like, no wonder why everyone is having so many problems. It's not that there's anything wrong with that person at all. It's just that people are having a real trouble coping with something that they don't know what it is. And what it is everything that we're talking about. Like really all of this stuff is affecting people. And it's like, that's an important message for people. It's nothing to do with you. It's not you. It's like really your soul is screaming to be sentient. It's screaming to be limitless. It wants that more than anything. And you're literally in a battlefield. Our forefathers were in the battlefield. We've been doing this fight for a very long time. You know, whatever that timeline is, like we don't even really know what the real history of all this is or how long it's actually been going on, but we do know it's been going on for a very long time. And I do think we're at a very pivotal point in time right now. Like I think we're seeing a culmination of, I mean, if we're to do a timeline, tens of thousands of years, if not longer, that we're making a big shift over into a new form. And I think, like you said before, it's like this 5D, 6D thing could be that sort of inverted, you know, transhuman type of mind, but it's also not. It's also the real conscious ascension that we as human beings together will go through. Real human beings, the ones that are fighting all of this off, you know, and potentially the ones who have come here again to participate in this, you know, creating a much better planet, you know, right?
I'm so glad I did.
But yeah, I'm so glad I did, right? Oh my God. Yeah, it's like, it can be hell sometimes, but I had an interesting thought with the transhuman agenda. Can't remember what it is now. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So this thing I came across, which is really interesting, is a guy named Mark Passio, and he talked about this thing called eugenics, right? So you know what epigenetics is, right? It's like every human being has the power to completely do what they want at will with their genetic coding. Like we've been taught from birth that like, hey, it's genetics, you can't do anything about it, blah, 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 blah. But real science is coming out and saying, listen, your consciousness has the power to be able to control your outcome, your destiny, your life, you know, everything that you're doing, you have this amazing ability to do that. Now, epi-eugenics is interesting because basically what we're saying with that turnaround is that if you have the ability to do that, that means the mind control and that level of mind control coming from the outside has the ability to do the same thing, right? So you brought it up earlier about how can we possibly change a biological being into a AI transhuman? Well, if we're that powerful, our minds are that powerful, that means the people orchestrating all this or beings orchestrating all this, I'm more apt to say they're not of this world. They know the power of the human mind. So they're just allowing people to make the decision on their own so that they consciously are creating the being that they want to create. Does that make any sense? Because we're that powerful. It's epi-eugenics, right? It's the inverted epigenetic, right? It's crazy. It's like, so then I start asking myself about free will. Like, that's an interesting topic. Free will is, right? Like real free will, because you're like, well, what is impacting that choice and that decision, right? You're driving down the road and you're kind of hungry. You see an Outback sign, Outback Steakhouse, right? And it's like, you don't even realize, but 20 minutes later, you're like, hey, you guys hungry? You want to get a steak or something, right? Like, that happens, right? You don't know why, but you saw the Outback sign, 30 miles down the road. So
There's a term for that, but I forget what it is.
But it's like, so how much, are we really, making our own decisions and choices? And I do believe in free will. I think that's a very broad and philosophical topic, but we have to ask ourselves, how much free will do we have in this world? I think that's like, that's a big question to ask ourselves. And again, I think by questioning everything, we're opening up the paradigm of free will, because we have, no one's ever going to know everything, not even close. I don't think we're meant to know everything. I think we're really meant to live and play. And like, as a sentient beings, we want to play, we want to feel expressive, and we want to enjoy every single moment, right? That's really, I think, what we really want to do, and create. We want to be very creative. And this is something that the AI just cannot do. It's not creative. It has to steal from sentient beings their ideas to be able to create the things that they need, and then say they did it, right? When it's just stealing from real human beings, real human consciousness, I should say. Yeah.
Well, you said a mouthful. So
Yeah.
of course it makes me go, oh, I think they took a real world and then created this fake mind program and sucked us in. And it's a really shabby copy, but just all the things you were saying, like the shadow self, like you were saying, the soul is just can't wait to express itself, is trying to express itself. So then they give us the shadow self and tell us that's us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not us. But the free will thing, I think, is what they've given us here is choices. So they kind of screwed up by they had to give us choices to make us forget that we're in a program. So we think, oh, we're making choices. Look, no, this isn't a program. Look, I just made that choice. But it's actually kind of turning into free will, because I can choose to get the heck out of here. If I have choice, I can choose anything. I can choose not to even be in your program now. So I think they kind of screwed up with that. So they don't really want us awakening or knowing that. They want you to feel that you are a victim of circumstances, and whatever happens that day is happening to you, and you have to react to it. But the whole 5D ascension thing, I'm jumping around because I wanted to comment on some of the stuff you said. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for a reason. I'm not going to any 5D or anywhere. I don't know what the heck I'm going. Forget it. I think the true ascension is the awakening, but it's also awakening to the point where you realize I don't belong here. I'm here for a job, and then I can leave. So the true ascension is going back to your soul and leaving, but I don't think it's going to a 5D. That's all part of their cycles and dimensions and cycles and programs and reset, all this stuff. But it's we want to have free will and choice here and all of these things, and they make us feel like we're victims of the world. So then we want a 5D world to go to. I want something better than give me somewhere else, instead of just realizing, wait a minute, I have choice. And it's because they forced us on linear time. They created time. Time is part of a AI program. It doesn't exist. So when you're in time, you have to go one thing after another. So it's like, if I want to say something to you, I have to say this sentence, then the next sentence, then the next. I can't just like give it all to you like. So everything has to go 1 second at a time in order. Can't jump around. If I have a truck coming down the road, I can't pull out when the truck's going by. I have to wait in order so I don't get hit. And so we have to figure out, okay, how do we have free will when we're in a linear timeline? We have choices, But what I really want to talk about is what you're bringing up, the epigenetics and epigenetic. So how do we change our genetic code or that type of thing? Do these people that are, I think it was books you were reading, or I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, lots of
Do they
different
tell
books and
you
things.
how to do this?
Yeah, I mean, there's people have different theories and theories that they work with their people that they claim that works, you know. I would say one of the biggest things people can do is, you know, especially in this world, is standing in your authority as a human being. And that very simple statement it can be a very profound one, because every single human being is a representation of the light of source, the order of which the chaos, or, you know, the order coming out of the chaos. Every human being has that ability. And you can't do it if you're not standing in your authority. And part of that is taking, you know, being obedient and being, you know, complacent and all these things. That's the way they want people to be. It just makes it easier for them to do things if they have a lot of people standing in their authority. And that means a lot of things. That means questioning a lot of things. It means researching things. It means reading things, listening to a lot of different people and a lot of different people's opinions. You know, I used to be very biased, you know, where I would just find one way to go and then go down that pathway. But then I kind of realized, like, that's not the best way to go. I need to hear both the extreme ends of the same story to kind of put them together, you know, and see where I stand in the middle of all that. Because right now, the polarity is almost at the extreme ends they can be. I mean, it's like people are being pulled so far apart. Like when I was younger, it used to be like, you know, well, I like this football team. Well, I like this football team. And you watch the game together and you have arguments over, you know what I mean? It was a nice strategy to use. I mean, games to me, like somebody asked me the other day, like, you know, or I think it was my daughter actually. She said, how come you don't like watching football? I'm like, because it's a game. It's like they want you to watch these games so you get sucked into, you know, the whole everything that represents. I don't want to play games. I'm not here to play games like that, to be pulled on a polar end of each other. But if you can stand in the middle of it the best you can and see how the extremes are working, I think you stand a lot better chance. And that's standing in your authority, seeing where it is, not having any definitive opinion over something until you know that you have a definitive opinion over it, right? Until you know inside of your whole being that that's what it is. That's, to me, it's paramount, very, very important. Stand in your authority, ask a lot of questions, and just look up things, you know, have fun with that. It's fun learning stuff. I've learned more now the last 2 years than I've learned probably my whole life up to this,
Right.
You know, up to that point, you know.
Oh God, we're on like the learning curve. Like, hurry up! You got to figure it all out. You've been asleep. So I love that. Basically. I love that. Stand in your authority, because you are the creative essence here. So they've even copied like a source. Like if you remember the Matrix movie, they go to the source at the end, which is the source of so they want you to pray to that source, but really the true creator is the source outside of all this nonsense. So you stand in your authority because you are a creator being. You're the freaking battery keeping this running. Your creations are what they copied here. So stand in your authority. Don't be a victim of the world. Don't let the world happen to you. Just say, oh, that's the game. No, I'm not accepting that. This is how it's going to be. And let's really start changing that. And what I would love to be able to do is what you're talking about, and start changing our own genetic code, our own. I mean, I think I kind of did that with that woman that I did the rescue on, because they had removed her. She had no aura, and her body was no longer, like, her light body was no longer biological in terms of like this is a reflection of our light body. And I had to use her soul to help rebuild a biological body and rebuild an aura for her before I could pull her back into this realm or reality. And I only got 1 foot in here, but at least they couldn't pull her back out. But so I think remember your own power. Don't buy the whole dogma that they're telling you that you're powerless and all these things are happening. It's out of your control. Remember who you are. Remember that they need you way more than we don't need any of this. They need us. We are the authority here, not them. And if you constantly deny your authority or your own power, then they get to have authority over you. And that's what they've been doing this whole time, tricking you. So just stand up so that you can, even if you don't want to do any work in the world, you're exhausted, at least say no to what you're seeing out there. If it's these things and you say, no, not happening. And if enough creator beings do this and really put some force behind it and confidence of, no, I have the ability to change this. This is my world. I have choice. It will start to change. It already is changing.
Yeah.
Even with the people out there protesting, it doesn't matter what level they're awakened to. The fact that they're out there saying no is very strong. If they're a soul and they're saying no, God, that just like cancels everything out. So this is why I think they're scrambling. They're going to extremes. Like you said, maybe that's part of these extremes. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. They're having to go to this extreme because the further we dig, we're getting further and further to the truth. And they're way over here. It's like, oh man, try harder. You got to pull them over to this side. Keep pulling. It's like the tug of war thing.
That's what it feels like. I mean, that's the sensation that I get when I see how strong that the ends of that are. Like, you know, you have the strong control end and you have the strong end of this awakening, mass awakening that is really occurring right now. And it's like, I don't know, you know, which one is, you know, I think they just consciously sort of work together. You know, it's like, it's so weird, like to think about like controlling groups and like, you know, 13 families or the, you know, the 300, you know, people, the committee of 300 and all this, and how many, what's really going on the very top of the pyramid, so to speak. I find it easier to sort of digest when I just think of it as consciousness be doing this, because as one is pulling in one direction, the other one's pulling in the other direction. But ultimately, you know, and there's all the varying degrees in between, but ultimately it comes back around like a magnet and they connect. And this is happening. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people are feeling this, where it's like the ends are coming around and whatever's trying to happen in between that final connection there, at least for this next go around. I don't know what that game is. All I know is what I see them trying to do with this transhuman agenda thing they got going on. But I think people are, you know, slowly you know, bit by bit, you know, climbing out of the pit, so to speak, and, you know, seeing the light, like, wow, okay, I didn't realize, man, this is a pretty scary place. I didn't realize, you know, that. But
I think I saw like one soul could run 3 matrices. So we really are strong, but I think we're stronger together because we're so conditioned that we can't really even access all of our strength because our mind won't let us. It's like, no, we have all these doubts and all this shadow stuff and all this stuff going on in there. But I think that we're stronger together. So it's really important for everybody to stay connected. Or like this gentleman that's in Germany, is there something that one of us can do for him? Like, we really got to like stick together, I think.
That's the key. I mean, the whole key of all of it is that the people who are on the side of real freedom, you know, real conscious expansion, and exploring the real sentient nature of themselves as an individual is completely reliant on the macrocosm, which is going to be how many of those microcosms come together to create that. And that is the fight. That's the battle. That's the fight between freedom and slavery. Is basically, you know, it's really that simple, and all the complexities that is turning into. It's to me as simple as that. You know, are we free or are we slaves? You know, and if we're slaves, that means there's masters, right? And then that whole consciousness of the master slave mentality, which is a nightmare to me. But some people, you know, I see a lot of people that kind of like that. You know, they may not come out and say it like that, but if you see their behaviors and their actions and how they are, you're like, well, that you kind of have a slave mindset. Like you'd rather, trade certain freedoms and stuff for this kind of security and safety of things. You know, we got people all around. I feel like I talk to them like that. I'm like, oh man, no freedom, you know, complete self-liberation freedom is really what I think, you know, we're looking at here. And this is the time. It's happening right now. All through the 50s and 60s and 70s, I don't think that really existed as much as it does now. even talking with my dad, who's almost 70 now, he's like, man, this is like, I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I mean, between all the wars and stuff that he's seen, and different political changes, and how the infrastructure of all that work, nothing like this. This is a massive, I said to him the other day, I was like, Dad, everything you thought your whole life up to you're 70, everything you thought was real, scrub it all, man. Because you've been drugged through the matrix. And he's like, I know. He's like, Logan, I know it. He goes, that realization is so hard for me to come to the conclusion of, but you're right. It has been. And he's completely rebuilding a whole new way of thinking, around all this stuff, which is really kind of neat to see, him at his age, being able to let go of the old paradigm, the old control, grid there, and begin to explore these new, these thoughts and ideas and beliefs. It's pretty interesting. It offers that for people.
Well, when you said the real 7 deadly sins on another round table, I think that was you, me, and Beverly. So if you haven't seen that round table, it's a good one. And you said one of the qualities of the 7 deadly sins, or one, I don't know what you said. I don't want to try to paraphrase it, but is lying, and that the people running this thing are liars. It would make sense that everything you're being shown and told is a lie. Mm-hmm. That's just logical. So it is hard to accept, but there is truth here. I mean, because we are truth, we're real. So we're here, and we got to join together. So I'm sitting here with these 2 lights on, which are like these lights for videos, and they're totally LED, like those. And I have my whole house incandescent bulbs because I always hated these things. But when you buy these, and I can feel stuff coming from these while we're talking. Like it's another transmission type of, or another transmission access or something, because I can feel stuff coming from them. I'm getting ready to turn them off. I don't even know if I'm going to keep using them, but yeah, I've been getting rid of all the, there were some here when I moved into this house. I've been throwing them out and whatever. But anyway, I don't know why I'm just thinking that. So my other thought I was having is, did you cut your hair?
Yeah, I did. I cut it.
Turn your head. Because I'm like, where's his ponytail? Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, I cut it off. So my son, he had really long, blonde hair, really curly, very thick. And he was just like, getting him to brush his hair every day was like a massive undertaking. And then it would go like 3 days, and then he'd get these dreads because his hair's so thick. And finally I was like, dude, I think you need to get your hair cut. Why don't we go get our hair cut together? So we went to the barber together and got our hair cut, got the same kind of do.
I love it. Looks good.
Yeah. Appreciate it. It feels good. It's like, I've been wanting to cut it for a while. And, I've done that my whole life. It's like grow the hair out long. And then when it's time to kind of start a new kind of
like old energy or something.
Yes, that's what it's always been like with me. A symbol of, starting new, you know what I mean?
So it's cut mine though, because I look like a dude with short hair. So, but she colored mine a nice mud color, and it's driving me crazy. But anyway, but yeah, I've cut mine in the past where it's like old energy and stuff, and still hanging with you. I don't know if that's true, but it looks great.
I appreciate it. I think it all just depends on, that's always been my thing. I think, again, it's one of those mental things. It's just like, if that's what it is for you, then it actually works. It's like, for me, it's like, time to cut the hair off, or time to grow the hair out again. It's like starting.
I wanted to cut mine, but I just don't look good with short hair. The hairstylist is like, no, we're going to have to name you Andy if you get it's like guy in drag. See, I look like a guy in drag. So, which is totally fine for people that are drag, but I don't want to be a guy in drag. I'm a female. I want to be a female, but anyway, it looks good. I don't know why I just now noticed it. So.
Oh, I got to kind of slip back a little bit. I don't know.
So I was like, there's no ponytail. I don't see the ponytail when you were turning. So. Anyway, anything else you can think of? We're just totally winging this. And
well, one thing I thought was really interesting, maybe, it got me thinking, and it's the word "the Matrix," right? So this word has been just like blown up. Like, a lot of places you look, a lot of people refer to the Matrix, especially since that movie, The Matrix, came out, referring to our reality as being like the Matrix. And so Tracy was saying to me, she was like, well, you know, it means the womb, right? That's what it means. And I was like, yeah, I gotta look this up, right? So I look it up. I'm like, that is what it literally means, the womb or the uterus. Okay. So I had to bring myself in and ask myself this question. I'm like, this word has just been massively used, right? The Matrix, huge movie. A lot of the, we'll say truth community uses this as like a, kind of the backbone of talking about our reality and all the different realities. And I always kind of thought of the Matrix as sort of like these sort of layered realities, right? Like we're living in a holographic universe. I agree with that. I mean, we're all light beings down to, the smallest parts of us. So it is, in a sense, a holographic world, right? But when you look at the concept of what the word actually means, which is the womb, what does that mean? Well, that means that you're in darkness and you're 100% dependent, right? So it's like if the mom doesn't eat, you die, right? If the mom's a drug addict, you come out a drug addict or you die. It's like if the mom's healthy and eats the right things and has a good, manageable stress level, you come out more than likely a healthy baby, right? So when I look at the concept of us being born out of the matrix, because that's what's happening. Like when we're born out of the canal, we come out into the world, we're actually being birthed out of the matrix. So then what does that make this reality? So it kind of made me feel like I stopped for a second and I was like, you're not in the matrix. Like by the definition of what it is, you were born out of the matrix, right? But what's happening is that we're being trying to convince that we're still in a matrix, because what are most people, myself included, right? There is a form of dependency that's happening, right? Like imagine they took all the grocery stores away, like, which may happen. Like what if they just shut all the internet, everything is completely closed down? We are dependent upon all of this stuff. Like we really are, almost like we're dependent upon this mother who seems to be this evil one, right? It's this sociopathic parent who says, I can pull it all away from you anytime I want, right? So we are essentially being kept in a matrix was what came to me. And, I don't know what that means to anybody else, but I'm really still kind of, digesting all this, because I'm like, well, I don't want to be dependent on the system like that. So what does that look like? So I have to ask myself that question with the family. You know what I mean? What does that look like? Because I'm dependent on, I work at a corporate job, right? A corporation. And I depend on the grocery store down the way to get groceries, and they're like 5 times a week, it seems like. But anyways, it's a food for thought kind of thing. Like if you take the word literally what it means and how you apply that in your life and think about, wow, how do I get out of the matrix? Well, I'm starting to ask myself, one of the first things is pull the plug, become less dependent on the sociopathic parent that we're all dealing with right now. And what does that look like? And that's a big undertaking. If you really think about it.
That is totally interesting. So I know I've heard it before, but it just went. So I was just thinking about, because I saw us getting sucked into this mind program or reality through a black hole, which is the one-eyed God. And it's like getting sucked through the black hole, maybe because it's inverted here. They're doing everything backwards. Instead of growing in the womb and getting born, they're sucking us backwards the other way and trapping us and keeping us dependent. I don't know, but that definitely is some food for thought. And I'll have to look into like the Sanskrit meanings of some of these words and see if I can go deeper on it. But yeah, totally interesting. Plus the Matrix movie is coming out like next month sometime?
I don't know. There's another one coming out.
Oh God. Yes, it's around Christmas. I'm stressing out about it because God knows what message is going to be in that, because the last one ended on the reset happening and the whole matrix started over again. He got tricked by going to that guy or whatever, but and the oracle tricked him. But they're saying that it's not a sequel, that it's like by itself or something.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll be interested to watch that. I mean, I love the Matrix movies. I think they're jam-packed with like so much relevant information that if you can, decode it in your own way, I think they're just telling you. And especially, here's the other thing too. This is an interesting thought. This is just a thought. And I've thought about this a lot my whole life and kind of just sort of pass it off. But talking about the matrix, which is the womb, what's to say that 10-month, gestation period, that we're not our whole life completely programmed in that 10 months. I mean, like down to everything, like our character, our personality, life events, like everything is already pre-programmed. And I find it interesting, like my grandfather-in-law, he was 93, he passed away recently, smoked 2 packs of Pall Mall cigarettes a day since the time he was 13. It was like, some people are like that. And it made me think, I'm like, how? And then you have like, the 40-year-old, triathlete who's in great health, dies of a heart attack. And you're like, what creates these things to happen like that? And the idea that possibly in that 10-month matrix period, everything is pre-programmed, so when we come out, we're just kind of generating the play of what the program is. Just a thought, it's interesting thing to think about, because like in the movie, they got the little bit, they got the little wombs there, and it's like that, they had to like pull your consciousness out of that and grow the, into the real world, kind of a similar type thing.
I just have memories. I have memories of not wanting to be born and resisting. And then I have memories from childhood thinking, like, where the hell am I? Who are these people? They're not my parents. This isn't my family. And realizing, okay, I've got to get tougher. I have to be mean if I'm going to survive here. I can't be love, or I can't be this or that. I mean, I remember having all these thoughts. So I don't know, maybe those of us that came in knowing and then trying to resist the programming on some level, maybe we did something so that it didn't fully take in the womb, so that at some point we would wake up. I don't know.
It's funny that you said that, because when I was a kid, I remember like scavenging the house, looking for evidence. I felt like this is not my family. And I was looking for birth certificate. I remember scavenging.
Same thing.
This is not my family. Like, I got to find proof that this isn't my real mom and my dad. 'Cause I know it's not. I'm going to find proof. But then, I find the birth certificate and it's got my footprint on there. I'm like, wait a second.
I don't remember doing that footprint.
This can't be.
My mother was all upset. She was kind of all teary-eyed and stuff because I was telling her I'm adopted or something, because you're not my parent. I want proof. I made her get the birth certificate out, and then I was like, I don't know. I'm still not buying this, man. This is.
I don't believe it.
All upset, and I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm from like up there somewhere. Like, I'm pointing at stars. I don't know where the hell I'm from, but I knew it wasn't here.
Yeah, that's interesting. That being said, I think that part of that theory I had too was, I think when people that program doesn't take, they come out and they have those types of feelings and are able to generate a whole new reality, that isn't so much of what the whole program was. I think there's a lot of people doing that, that are changing the course of the programming. And maybe that is part of, this redirection, this push against
taking it down, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Taking it down. Another thing too, real quick, and this is a minor thing, but you've been mentioning angels. And I think this came to me. I was like, I found out, the word English comes from the Angles, or the English, which were people, right? And the word angle is like the word angel. Phonetically, it's very close, right? So it's almost like the English language is the language of the angels, right? But is it the fallen angels? Or is it like, the light angels? And I'm starting to feel like more and more that like we have a fallen angel English. You know what I mean? Like, everything is so inverted, because when you really look into words, like everything is so inverted, even phonetically. Like for instance, like when someone says bless you, right? Like, that's a typical thing when someone sneezes. What you're saying is be less you, right? You're telling someone to be less, right? Why do we say that to people? Like, someone have a blessed day. It's like, well, have a be less day.
Oh,
it's
my God.
And your subconscious mind hears that. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, your conscious mind's like, oh, thanks, I'm gonna have a blessed day, thank you. But your subconscious mind is saying, be less, be less, be less, right? Oh, and this is pretty interesting too. I've been watching The Devil's Playground. He's got a really.
I was just gonna mention him. He does all those word things.
He does, and I was watching him the other day, and he had one where he said, okay, he had the word lesson and the word moron, right? So when you go to school, you learn a lesson, but really the word on, if you take that, just means to be turned on. Like, there's light, there's gamma, there's information, right? It's on. But when you say less on, it's less on, right? You go to school to learn a lesson, but then you call somebody who you call a moron, like moronic, like, you know, Omicron there, moron, it's more on. So really it's inverted. It's the opposite. It's interesting, right? This is how your subconscious mind hears things. So it's like, that's the other thing. I always, you know, when I talk to people, I'm like, look at the word, look at it phonetically, look at the acronym of it, look at it, you know, a lot of different ways. Same with Santa Claus. I mean, it's crazy. You're taking a word, Santa Claus, that literally, if you just change one word, it's Satan. And then you have clause, Satan's clause. I mean, it's like that.
Clause, or creating a clause like a contract.
And that too, two things. It's creating a clause, a materialistic clause, and you have clause, and you have the word Santa really actually is Satan, Saint Nick. Well, Nick is another term that we call, you know, the devil, right? Nick, right? Anyways, I don't know. It's very, when you really look into it.
That explains, I've always been obsessed with words my whole life, like very into words and lexigramming words and stuff like that. And now it makes sense why, because there's so much information if you just change the spelling. But just like angel is angle, so I always call them right angles, because a right angle is not a natural thing. It's a contrived fake thing. So it's part of the fake world of the right angles. But I really think, yeah, the language is the fallen angels, but it's the good, the false light and the bad, the false light and the dark. Just like you're talking about the two teams playing on the field, they're all the same. It's just one's false light and one's dark. And which experience do you want? Which one you want to side with? And I think it's just all fallen angels, honestly. Or angels.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's what it feels like.
Inverted,
it's like
fallen, inverted, the fall.
Yeah, it's like, what choice do you want? It's like you get this choice, you get like, you know, both choices are like, you know, no good. But, you know, it's like, that was interesting you said about the choices too, because I came up with this sort of analogy. I was trying to explain to somebody this idea that I had about this very thing about choices. It's like, if you go to a restaurant and there's only, you know, 3 things on the menu, it's like, those are the only 3 things you get. Like, but there's so many other things, but you program to go to the same restaurant to pick between the same 3 things. Like, that is the most programming you could possibly be. Our whole world is literally built upon limited choices, and to not think beyond the choices, you know?
That's like that thing you said when you see the sign. I forget what it's called. But you see the sign and then later you think, hey, do you want to go to this restaurant? And they use it in advertising and stuff. I forget what you call it. They were trying to teach me as an author to do this in my marketing, to pre-program people to think what you want them to think. I'm like, I'm not doing that stuff. I'm just gonna
repetition is, you put something in,
you hit something in there, you say, boy, it's really steamy and wet out, and then somebody wants a glass of water. It's like you make them think of water or something. I don't know, this stupid example, but I'm not, my mind does not work that way. Like, I cannot force myself to try to think like that and do this marketing like that. I'm not doing it. It's fake. But yeah, that's like, still, like, how do we function? There's so many freaking programs.
They're everywhere.
Everything is to take your power away, to make you think you're a victim, and so that you don't stand in your authority. Because once you do that, they're going to get scared and run.
Yeah, we have I think one human being completely standing in their authority is worth, I can't even put a number on how incredibly magnifying that is. That would you know, take down this fabricated matrix that we're experiencing right now. And it's digging our way out of the hole. It's like, you know, slowly but surely, and having the courage to be able to do that and to say no when, you know, the time comes to say no. It could be with anything. It doesn't have to be just with, you know, these things. It's knowing when to say no, and you know, feeling good about that, you know, knowing when to say yes, you know. And it's really, it's a very important thing to do.
So this docu-series you're doing, where is that at? Is that on your channel?
Yeah, so I changed the name of my channel from Eye of the Heart to Living Library Productions. And there's different reasons why. I feel like that I tried to start a new channel, Living Library Productions. I put my first video up and they took it right down. And for some reason I put it up as a test run on Eye of the Heart. They didn't take it down off of there. So I was like, you know, why don't I just change it? My current one, I'll just change the name of it. And Living Library, I feel like as human beings, you know, as long as we've been walking on this earth, we are so intrinsically connected. I don't think our past is scrubbed. I mean, I think we have access to all this information. We are the library. We are the ones, the sentient beings who are carrying each other, you know, through all this and walking each other home, or whatever you want to say. But
okay, wait, before you go further, you just made me think of something, because when I do an Akashic record reading, they have screwed with the Akashic records. So I think I'm almost going into that person's own library where the memory has been saved. I think we really do. We're the only ones that are keeping all the memories, because they're trying to erase our past and make us forget everything. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep
That's
going.
okay. One of the things that I remember coming to me when I was a teenager was this overwhelming feeling of, we have to preserve the memory of now. Like, I don't know why, I just felt this like imminent thing, like it kept on coming to me, preserve the memory of now, like everything that's in the world, you know. I don't know, but it's just, we are the ones that carry this information. This is how the next generations and our children and their children, all that, are going to be able to have a life on this planet. If we can have a life on this planet of sentient beings, right? Like, we are doing it now. We're battling for this planet. We're the ones carrying this information, the real information. And that's important. So anyways, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but Living Library Productions.
Oh, I love that.
You can, you know, just right now you can actually type it in and you can find it. I Have the Heart, you couldn't even find it by putting it in there. And so part one, the docuseries is called COVID 911 Informed Consent. And I did the series with a doctor, got about 4.5 hours of raw footage, and trying to make a documentary out of it. It's been a huge challenge.
Wow.
I've never done anything like this. Nick Alvear, who you had on your show, he's been sort of an inspiration for me. I watched that and been, you know, watching his videos and stuff, and sort of, you know, his inspiration there. So anyways, it's, I think I did a pretty good job. You know, I mean, I was like, it's very informative. And Jen is Dr. Jen. She's just like, she's so fast with information, and it's like trying to dissect this and slow it down and have B-roll, but it's all in there. And the first part is about the link between technology and disease. A lot of that came out of Arthur Firstenberg's book, The Invisible Rainbow. I mean, we pretty much see a definitive pattern. Every pandemic that we've had has always been at the rollout of some big technology. No coincidence there. And especially now we have a pandemic, we've got 5G, 6G. There's a lot going on with that. And then the second one, we're getting into transmission. We're getting into viruses, terrain theory, germ theory, and microscoping what these things are, to put more perspective on what's happening in the world. Because once we kind of get the idea, you know, wait a second here, why is this a lie? Well, this is a lie because we're operating on a theory, basically, is what we're doing, a legitimate theory. And this is why lockdowns are happening right now. And it's done in a way where I think even if you're on the left side, you can still watch this and still go, okay, that information makes sense. And that's the way we wanted to do the video. It's not conspiratorial, it's not conspiracy, it's just real studies and real information, you know, coming from Dr. Jen. So anyways, yeah, if you want to check that out, definitely appreciate the support. And you know, hope anybody who watches it, that they enjoy it.
Definitely. I don't even know how you're getting all that done with kids and a full-time job, and holy cow, but I know you've been getting shadow banned just like my channel. So it's almost like we're pre-targeted or something. And anyway,
I don't know, but yeah,
I've been avoiding all the wrong words most of the time, but
you know, it's funny. The other channels like Odyssey, BitChute, it's funny. It's like with YouTube, it's like, it's so user friendly, and I feel like it just reaches more. Maybe because YouTube's so huge, I'd rather not be on there. But right now, it seems to be like the one thing that.
Yeah, it's more pleasant to watch too for the person watching. So yeah, trying to stay on here as long as we can. And I don't know. I'm still at small numbers, but those numbers get froze a lot, and comments getting erased, all kinds of stuff, but at least we're still up, you know, so that's all I care about. But
yeah, you're growing too. Your numbers have definitely gotten higher from
a little bit. Yeah. So, but also when you put out truth, it's hard to, especially if you're going really deep. There's only so many people that want to go that far. It's like we're going, well, no, there's the tunnel keeps going, like in the rabbit hole, and people are like, I'm not going down there. No, I'm kind of comfortable right here. I got enough information. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, it goes deep and deep and deep, but it's fun deep diving, right? It's fun doing
Oh,
deep dives.
yeah. And we
And it's
gotta know
like,
it all. The more we know, the better.
yeah, absolutely. Even if the deep dive leaves some kind of question mark, I mean, that's another fun question mark to go down. I love it. I love doing that. Like I said earlier, though, we can be consumed by it, which would be a negative thing. But as long as it's kind of, we're having fun with it and discovering new things, and it's opening up new pathways, new beliefs, new ideas that we can take and do things with, that's the fun part of it.
Yeah,
know?
you stay empowered. Stand in your authority, as Logan
That's it.
said.
That's
Do it
right.
So anything else you can think of, or should we wrap it?
Yeah, that's all I can think of. That went good. I was like, we got a lot of, I think, pretty good information in there. So yeah, we can
Yeah,
wrap
we
it
start
up.
talking, it goes bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. 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 It's already, I
Okay,
mean, it's
I'm
been
gonna stop
like
the
an hour and a half.
recording.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.